You know that feeling, right? You hear about some totally wild idea and you just need to know more, but like the quick version.
The highlights, yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's what we're doing today. We're going way beyond little green men and talking about something huge, cosmic engineering, alien megastructures.
Uh-huh. It's a fascinating thought.
Yeah.
We're not just scanning for, radio signals anymore. We're actually thinking about how we might spot the physical evidence, the shadows maybe, or the heat from these massive hypothetical constructions.
So that's the mission for this deep dive. Unpack the ideas, the evidence, see what's out there.
And we're drawing from some great material, the Sci-Blowing podcast episode, Alien Megastructures, Signals or Shadows.
Right. They gave us a good starting point. We're going to dig a bit deeper into those juicy bits.
Okay, so before we can even talk about building something on this scale, we need a way to think about the builders. What kind of civilization are we talking about?
Yeah, that brings us to the Kardashev scale, doesn't it?
It does. Nikolai Kardashev, a Soviet astrophysicist, came up with this back in the 60s.
1964, I think. And it's basically a way to classify civilizations based purely on how much energy they use. It's kind of neat.
Very elegant, yeah. He laid out three main types. Type I is a civilization that's mastered all the energy available on its own planet.
So, like, harnessing weather, volcanoes, all the sunlight hitting the planet, everything.
Pretty much. Peak planetary efficiency.
Like us, but, dialed way, way up.
Then you jump to Type 2, and this is a massive leap.
This is where it gets really sci-fi.
A Type 2 civilization controls the entire energy output of its home star.
The whole star. So that's where things like Dyson spheres come in.
Exactly. That's the classic Type 2 concept.
Yeah.
And then there's Type 3.
Which is?
Galactic scale.
Yeah.
Harnessing the energy of an entire galaxy. Billions of stars.
Wow. Okay. So when Kardashev first proposed this, he figured any alien megastructure builders would have to be at least Type 2, maybe even Type 3.
That was the thinking, yes. Civilizations with truly immense power at their disposal.
We're so far beyond just discovering fire here, it's hard to even wrap your head around.
It really is. Now, this all sounds very theoretical, very much science fiction.
But then something actually happened, right? In the real world, an observation that made people sit up and think.
Indeed it did. Enter KIC 8462852, or as it's much better known, Tabby's star.
Tabby's star. I remember the buzz around that. What was it, 2015?
That's right. Tabitha Boyajian and her team were looking at data from the Kepler Space Telescope, and they saw this star doing something. Very strange.
It was dimming, wasn't it? But not in a normal way.
Exactly. Stars dim all the time when planets pass in front. Those are called transits. They're small, regular, predictable dips in brightness.
But Tabby's star wasn't like that.
Not at all. The dimming events were huge brightness drops of up to 22% sometimes.
22%? That's enormous.
It is. And they were completely irregular. No pattern, no predictable timing, just these massive random dimmings.
So not a planet. What else could it be? Dust? Comets?
Those were the first thoughts. Absolutely. Maybe huge clouds of interstellar dust drifting past, or a massive swarm of comets breaking up around the star. They even checked for instrumental errors, of course.
And did any of those explanations fit?
Well, they tried, but none of the natural explanations really fully accounted for the sheer depth and the completely erratic timing of these dips. It remained a puzzle.
A real head-scratcher.
Definitely. And that's when the, let's say, less conventional explanations started to get discussed more seriously.
The alien megastructure idea?
Could it be some vast artificial structure orbiting the star, blocking the light in this weird, irregular way? It was, and still is, a very speculative idea.
A long shot, for sure.
A very long shot. But the data was so unusual, so hard to explain naturally, that the possibility couldn't be immediately dismissed. It certainly sparked a lot of interest.
Which leads us nicely to probably the most famous hypothetical megastructure.
The Dyson sphere.
The Dyson sphere. Everyone pictures this giant solid shell completely enclosing a star, right? Like something out of Star Trek.
That's the popular image, yeah. But the original idea, which actually has roots in Olaf Stapledon's fiction from the 30s before Freeman Dyson formalized it scientifically in 1960, is maybe a bit different.
How so?
Well, Dyson proposed it as a way a Type 2 civilization could capture basically all of its star's energy, the ultimate solar power plant.
Okay. But a solid shell? The physics, the materials? That seems impossible.
Oh, almost certainly impossible. The gravitational stresses, the sheer amount of material needed.
Yeah.
Most scientists think if such a thing exists, it's probably not a solid shell.
So what then?
More likely, a Dyson swarm. Imagine countless independent solar collectors, satellites, habitats, maybe mirrors, all orbiting the star in a dense cloud or swarm.
Ah, okay. A swarm. Lots of smaller pieces working together. That sounds slightly more plausible, engineering-wise. Still incredible, but maybe not impossible.
Exactly. It's a decentralized approach. And
Yeah.
this whole concept, the Dyson sphere or swarm, it really changed how we approach the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. SETI.
How did it change things? We were always listening for radio signals, right? Like in the movie Contact.
Primarily, yes. SETI was focused on listening for deliberate transmissions, someone
All
trying to
right.
say hello. But the Dyson idea opened up a new possibility, looking for indirect evidence, the byproducts of technology.
Not a message, but like cosmic exhaust fumes.
Kind of, yeah. Think about it. If you build this massive swarm to capture stellar energy, it's going to generate waste heat. Thermodynamics tells us that. You can't use energy without some inefficiency, some heat loss,
Okay, makes sense. Like my laptop getting warm.
on a much, much grander scale.
Yeah.
And this waste heat, models suggest, would likely be radiated away as infrared light.
Infrared, like night vision goggles use.
Precisely. So the idea emerged. But maybe we shouldn't just be listening for signals. Maybe we should also be looking for stars that have an unusually strong infrared glow, potentially indicating waste heat from a massive energy harvesting project.
So we're searching for the heat signature of alien industry.
That's one way to put it, yeah. Jason Wright and colleagues, for instance, have done work searching astronomical surveys for these kinds of infrared excesses. It's a shift from listening for a deliberate whisper to looking for the glow of a cosmic furnace.
That really broadens the search, doesn't it? And it makes you wonder, if they could build a Dyson swarm, what else could they build?
Exactly. The Dyson concept is just one possibility. Once you start thinking at that scale, the design space opens up quite a bit.
The Sci-Blowing podcast mentioned others. What about ring worlds, like in the Larry Niven books?
Right, a huge solid band orbiting a star, creating an enormous habitable surface area on its inner side. That would have its own distinct signatures, blocking starlight, maybe giving off heat.
Incredible. And then stellar engines. What on earth is that?
That's the idea of harnessing a star's energy, not just for power, but to actually move the star system through the galaxy.
Move the whole star. How?
Well, one theoretical model is the Shkidov thruster. Imagine a truly enormous, curved mirror, maybe covering half the star. It reflects a significant portion of the star's light back onto itself. This creates an imbalance in the radiation pressure, a tiny net thrust, constantly pushing the star system in one direction over millions or billions of years.
Wow. So you look for stars that seem to be accelerating in a way they shouldn't be?
Potentially, yes. Subtle, long-term deviations from expected galactic motion.
Mind-boggling. And there was one more, really out there one. Matryoshka brains.
Ah, yes. That takes the Dyson concept even further. Imagine nested Dyson shells, layer upon layer like Russian dolls.
But why? More energy.
Not primarily. The idea is computation. Each shell captures energy from the one inside it, uses it for computation, and radiates waste heat outwards to the next shell, which operates at a cooler temperature. It's a hypothetical computer of unimaginable power.
A computer the size of a solar system.
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
And the predicted signature. A massive amount of waste heat, likely peaking at different infrared wavelengths corresponding to the different layers. Very distinctive if you could detect it.
Okay, so we have this whole catalog of truly wild hypothetical structures. But let's bring it back down to Earth, or at least back to current science. Despite tabbysstar being weird, the general scientific view still favors natural explanations for odd things we see out there, right?
That's definitely the prevailing approach, and for good reason. Science progresses by testing the simplest hypotheses first. Occam's razor, you know.
Right, don't jump to aliens if dust can explain it.
Exactly. And often, natural causes can explain things. We see clumpy dust disks around young stars. We know interstellar clouds can drift in front of stars, and stars themselves vary in brightness.
So most weird signals probably have a mundane astrophysical explanation.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah.
But some observations, like the specific deep and irregular dimming of Tabby's star, remain genuinely difficult to explain with known natural phenomena alone. The debate continues on that one.
And we're getting better at spotting these oddities now, aren't we? With things like TESS and Gaia.
Absolutely. These massive automated sky surveys are monitoring millions, even billions of stars with incredible precision. They use AI to sift through the data and flag anything unusual, any light curve that doesn't look quite right.
So we might find more tabby stars.
It's quite possible. These surveys give us unprecedented coverage and sensitivity. It represents, as the Sci-Blowing guys pointed out, a real shift in SETI strategy, not just listening, but actively watching the sky for anomalies, whether visual or infrared.
Okay, this leads to a bigger, maybe more philosophical question then. What if? What if these megastructures are out there, maybe even common, but we just don't recognize them?
That's a profound thought. It touches on the limits of our own understanding and potential biases. We're looking for things based on our physics, our ideas of engineering.
But an advanced alien civilization might operate on principles we haven't even discovered yet.
Precisely. Their technology might leave signatures we wouldn't even think to look for, or that we misinterpret as natural phenomena.
Like Carl Sagan said, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
A crucial reminder in this field. Just because we haven't found unambiguous proof doesn't mean it isn't there. Maybe we're looking in the wrong way, or maybe we're seeing hints already but explaining them away.
Could something we currently think is natural, like, I don't know, certain types of pulsars or quasars, actually be artificial or have artificial components?
It's highly speculative, bordering on philosophical, but it's not an entirely unreasonable question to ask. We have to be cautious about assuming we understand everything we see in the cosmos.
Yeah, it gets into those really big ideas, doesn't it? Like the zoo hypothesis, maybe they know we're here and are deliberately hiding. Or the simulation hypothesis. Maybe none of this is real anyway.
Or simply the danger of anthropocentrism, assuming aliens would build things we would build if we had the power. Maybe their motivations, their technologies are just fundamentally different.
It's humbling, really.
It is. But what's exciting is that even asking these questions, searching for these possibilities, pushes science forward. It makes us look at the universe in new ways.
So, a final thought for you listening. Next time you look up at the stars, think about it. Could one of those tiny lights be dimming strangely? Could there be an unseen infrared glow? Are we potentially overlooking the signs of something truly monumental?
It's a universe full of mysteries. And maybe, just maybe, some of those mysteries aren't entirely natural. Keep looking, keep wondering.